I think for me, at the age of 16, doing work experience with Alan Keane MP, I think that's the key watershed moment, because before then, although I'd sort of been head boy at school and done all of that, actually politics was just something that was sat over there. It was something that was very, very different. And actually going into the office and realizing that MPs are normal people. I think within our communities, there is a tendency to revere them as almost godlike and sitting above, because a lot of cultures see politicians as sort of sitting above everything else. And one of the things that Alan used to do really well is talk to people and really make sure that he was grounded within the local area. And that was a real lesson. People would ring up the office and ask to speak to not Mr. Keane, but Alan, because they'd met him at an event or they'd met him somewhere and he'd had a really nice conversation. And that just reminded me to stay grounded. And that's a key watershed. I think actually getting elected to the council in 2010 is a key watershed moment for me, because you realise in local government, you actually have a lot of levers and a lot of power, and you can do a lot of good things in a tangible way. And it's interesting talking to some Labour MPs, because we're sat in opposition at Westminster, actually watching that and them saying we actually really have very little we can achieve, whereas you can actually achieve quite a bit. And then the final watershed, I appreciate we're probably running out of time, is actually having my son in 2016. That's a key moment for me, because actually it changes your perspective on life. As an adult, you kind of look at the things that are important to you, but actually when you're bringing up a child, you look at what's important for them and what's important in the area around you, and it really changes your perspective. So that's a really key watershed moment for me in terms of some of the stuff that I've spoken about this morning.
Shantanu, if you've got the time, I'd like to just ask a question around that. So you mentioned the work experience that you did with your MP. Have you always been about, has your whole career been about politics? Was there a moment where you might have gone down a different path, or everything has been leading to your election to Hounslow Council?
No, I think actually, one of the things you have to acknowledge when you stand for local office is that certainly in outer London, it's slightly different in inner London because of the way it's funded, but certainly in outer London, you can't be a local representative full time. So for a long time, up until becoming leader recently, I had a day job. And I think that's actually, it makes your life very difficult in the sense that it makes you very, very busy. But actually having that separation, I think, is really, really important. So, having that ability to say, right, today I'm really focusing in on the day job as opposed to politics, I think is important to keep you grounded, because otherwise you can get sucked into the political machine, as it were, and to a certain degree you lose perspective that way. So whilst I've always aspired to be leader, since I became councillor, that's always been an aspiration. I've always acknowledged that you need to have something else that you do, because otherwise you lose all perspective. And that's probably the worst thing. And so, yeah.
So what was that job?
I was a diamond buyer. I used to buy diamonds. Slightly unusual. So I worked for a company that manufactured engagement rings, and my role was to sort of understand the specification and find the right stock. So you'd often be, I spent most days talking to polishers in Mumbai and Tel Aviv, having very similar conversations. Actually, it sounds more exciting than it actually was. Lots of foul-mouthed people that you were dealing with on a daily basis, having quite difficult conversations. But it was good fun as well. And actually, dealing with customers, I think is an important skill to have. Being able to negotiate and talk through things is really important. That's really helped on the political side.
Yeah, and I guess it's fair to say that you're a negotiator.
It's about vision. It's about being able to set a direction, but it's being able to negotiate that direction. And I think one of the key skills that I've had to learn over the years is how to change direction if the need arises. Being flexible. It's all very well having a single vision, but sometimes something comes along that makes you think, hold on a second, a different direction might work a lot better because someone's made a really good suggestion, and being able to negotiate your way through that is really important.